Number one, another D&D craft. And by another, I mean the first. So I 3D print a lot, and there's a lot of leftovers, whether it be failed prints, supports, whatever. And I hate that. I hate waste. So I kind of came up with a cool idea. Tree supports is what we're going to use in this video. I find it'll fit the vibe of the sea corals. The main tool I'm using is going to be a little foam cutter, specifically this one, I think. Pretty sure that's the one I ordered, but anyone will do. So I'll get into it. Again, the foam cutter is the main thing, but wear masks, wear glasses. So the sea corals won't be perfect. There'll be gaps, there's going to be weird melted sections, and taller parts that are just stringy from failed prints. If anything, it kind of just runs with the natural vibe. Each one is going to be different, but it's I think it adds to it. Obviously, the first thing I do is not work on the coral at all, and I'm going to cut out an old cardboard spool to use as a holder for my foam cutter. So, took me longer than I'd like to admit, but eventually got it. And again, this doesn't have much to do with the main portion of this video, but I recorded it and I wanted to use it because I thought it was funny. Yeah, so it was convenient. It was nice to use, and I definitely didn't burn through foam accidentally before this. So to start, we're going to get the largest chunk of failed print we could get our hands on, whether it be already one solid piece or a bunch of pieces clumped together. Something like this in the corner here could work. The actual video, I think I get a clump of smaller pieces. So the idea for this larger failed printer platform, we're going to use that as a base for the sea corals. We'll be attaching farther little smaller pieces. As you can see, this one here is all loose, so I'm going to need to connect all that together. So I take the foam cutter and I just start going across the entire thing, just connecting any bits that are already nearby. This could be in between sections of tree joints. Anything that will make the base solid, if it isn't already. Going through this, it'll take a bit of time for you to sit down and find anything to kind of stick together. So once you have your base, you'll start adding tree supports on top of it, just as individual tubes, as if the coral's growing out. When you're building these up, it might look really weird, especially when you only have one or two supports onto it. But the more you add, the more complicated it looks, and you could really ignore all the small details. You'll eventually start putting tubes on tubes, and that's when you get these seams here. These seams are a bit harder because the walls are so thin, so you have to gently just run the foam cutter down the sides and just like melt it just enough to connect it. It doesn't need to be a strong connection because you'll be doing these connections across the whole circle of the tree support. Just enough so that when you move it with your finger, it sticks. You can always go over it later if it's too thin or too weak. You can easily just grab extra material from another tree support or a failed clump or a nest print and just add it for more material. So this could definitely get messy. Melting supports gets really stringy, and you see I struggle here as the base just jumps around. I'm struggling. It sucks, but it's no big deal. Speaking of supports, you get a lot of different clumps. This stuff isn't really usable other than adding extra material. What we're looking for is these Y supports, or the tree supports that you'll find when you do a lot of 3D printing. You'll probably know what that is. So tree supports, that could be anything tube-like, they look like branches, pretty much, but they're called tree supports, at least bamboo, that's what they call them. They're super useful for this project. They're basically built-in corals. So you could use any sort of support. It doesn't matter if it's a Y joint or an extra long piece. Depending on what you're printing, you'll probably get a variety of these. And we could use any of them. Again, the coral's going to have a natural look, so you're not trying to build anything too exact. Each one is going to be unique, and I think, that's a cool thing. Just take another small chunk of plastic. I know a lot of modern printers will spit out chunks of plastic before print just to purge the nozzle. So even if you take something that just to get material, you could gently melt it into the model just to add that extra bit of material. Fill any gaps if it's really bothering you, or if a tree support isn't quite connected, you could use that to build up the wall, and then you could gently just run the hot end of the foam cutter just to smooth it out and kind of just make a tougher wall. At this point, once I already have a couple tree supports attached, I just take the whole unit and I just keep rotating around my hand and just melting anything that I want to either make smooth or just attach, just to kind of solidify the whole piece. It's also worth mentioning that the plastic will regularly stick to the foam cutter, and you need to just brush that off in a wet piece of paper towel. You could use a dry one, but I don't know, that's a fire hazard, and it's easier to use it when wet, so I'd recommend that. But you do you. There'll be a lot of smoke. Well, not a lot of smoke. A little bit of smoke, and it'll stink. I recommend doing this in a garage or a workshop. I'm not doing that, so I have an air purifier next to me, as well as an N95 mask. Those would come in handy. It's a bit annoying to wear on your face, especially with my glasses always falling down, but it's better than breathing in burnt plastic, because it definitely doesn't smell good, and it probably isn't good for your lungs. I'd recommend separating tree supports in advance. You get a lot of different flat or rough pieces if you're printing as much as I am. You'll have a lot of different material to work with, and rather than digging through everything in advance, as you rip off supports of any minifigures or projects, just separate them into different bins or like little trays. It'll be much easier in the future. Don't mind the small gaps when you melt things together. Ultimately, it doesn't matter. You could explain it away as a different type of sea growth. I find if you look a lot of videos on sea coral, it's just a mess of natural growth. So depending on how you want to paint it, you could easily explain it away as if it's a different type of coral, or maybe it's some undersea growth of whatever sorts. If you know anything about the sea, you could get away with anything because there's a wild amount of growth down there of all different shapes and sizes. Yeah, so keep going through and just methodically attach any free space on top of the solid base you've already made. Just keep attaching tree supports. And again, big or small, doesn't really matter. Generally, you could follow the rule that a bigger tree support and then you progressively get smaller, but it doesn't have to be perfect. You can easily melt a larger tree support onto a smaller diameter tree support or vice versa. You kind of just have creative freedom with it. Like I said, with the walls of the tree supports, you could just take random supports and just fill in all the gaps and melt it, smooth it over. The foam cutter is really good for just precision melting. Also, be aware how long it is. You could easily melt off a different support than the area you're trying to focus on. But again, not a big deal. Everything can be fixed and it cools pretty quick. Painting will have to be in a different video though, because I don't want to make this too long. So this is what I'm currently sitting at. I have 5 of these done. I might do more, but I'm going to paint these first and see how they turn out. So I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching.